Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Today, I have a very special guest here for the show. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Thank you, Kimberly. My name is Steve Gamlin. I enjoy life as a professional speaker and also a visualization strategist. And I live in a little town in New Hampshire on a dead end street off another dead end street in the woods with really good Wi-Fi. And that's where I'm coming from today.
Okay, and can you tell me about your path leading up into your present?
Sure. For me, it all began when I was 11 years old because I remember writing down these goals that I had. And I'm just about to turn 58 at the time of this broadcast.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I wanted to be a radio DJ because at the time there was a TV character named Dr. Johnny Fever, who I thought was the coolest guy in the world. And he was a radio DJ. I wanted to be a stand up comedian because at the time Steve Martin was at his peak of stand up and was wildly popular. And he got paid to make people laugh, which I thought was wonderful. I wanted to be an author of my own books because my mom instilled a love of reading and writing in myself and my sister. And I also wanted to be a teacher of people, but not in a classroom. I wanted to share examples of how people could figure out ways to be happier and enjoy a better, more enjoyable life. And over the course of the past, well, now 47 years since then, I've been able to enjoy all of these. I've been a speaker for 20 years. I have published 4 books so far. I did stand up comedy for 7 years, and I was on the radio for 10 years. So I've gotten to do all the things I wanted to do. Now, in between each one, my life crashed and burned pretty hard a few times over. And as we have this conversation, just about 13 months ago, unfortunately, I lost my soulmate, my twin flame, my
Sorry to hear
beloved
that.
wife, Tina. So thank you very much. So right now, it's yet another rebuilding time in my life and using what I've been going through to help educate and inspire, hopefully, other people who might be going through some tough times in their lives.
Tell me about the transition, the hard transition, and how the situation unfolded with you and your wife passing on.
Yeah. My wife, Tina, and I were together. We got to be in love. I always say it this way: we got to be in love for 6,386 days. That's 17 and a half years. And we went to London in early December of 2024. We're going over there to see a concert. Now, Tina's favorite singer was George Michael, and his old musicians and singers put together a little tour to honor him. And we were going over to catch one of the shows. So we arrived there in the morning of December 8th, 2024. And unfortunately, just 24 hours later, we went downstairs to breakfast at the hotel. We came back up and she asked me to set up her laptop. She had a little bit of work to do. So I went down to the gym. And an hour later, when I came back up, I found her slumped over on the couch, called down to the front desk. Person with medical training came up. She still had a pulse. So while we were doing our best to revive her while the EMTs were on the way, she literally passed away in my arms while I was telling her I loved her and crying all over her. And being 3,000 miles from home, all alone, shattered and shaking. I was alone for 5 days until my sister flew over just to be with me for support. It was the most lost, the most broken, the most fogged mental fog and physical and mental exhaustion that I've ever felt in my entire life. And that fog lasted a number of months until I got back home. I was stuck in England for 2.5 weeks, navigating all of the agencies and police and procedures and um, the the autopsy and everything with the funeral home, and then of course to arrange to have her body brought back to America. Um, Her funeral was not here at home until exactly 1 month after she passed away. That's how many hoops we had to go through, which is a pain I would not wish on anyone.
How did you recover in the future, and how did you rebuild your life with, if you have children, your children, if you have like family, your family,
Yeah.
to navigate around the new life without Tina?
Yeah, I'm actually still recovering from that. One of the very first things I did, actually, when I was still in England, was I was researching grief support groups here near our hometown back in America because I knew by the second day, I'm a guy, so my thing throughout my life, whenever something goes wrong, is I'll deal with it, I'll handle it, I'll take care of it. I knew right away that that was not going to be a good decision on my part. So one of the biggest and best things I did, one of the first things I did, was to find some grief support. Did some one-on-one calls. Tina's company was so generous in gifting me 8 one-on-one calls with a grief counselor, which was very helpful. I was also part of a grief support group here near our home for several months, and we still meet on a monthly basis to help each other out. My family has been amazingly supportive. We don't have kids, so it was kind of just the two of us. But my family had my back big time throughout this, and that's been a huge help to not feel alone. I just knew right away that as a guy, we tend to cocoon and work through things ourselves. At the end of that cocoon would not have been a beautiful butterfly. It would have been a tarp full of sludge because it would not have been a good idea for me to try to do this on my own.
If you had to give advice to people out there that have lost their wife or their husbands, how would you say that they should recover from what you already know?
Number one thing, find somebody who is qualified to understand what you're feeling because you're going to feel every emotion. The experts say there's, I believe it's 5 stages of grief. Boy, you go through those randomly. It's almost like playing a game of Uno. You get through one and all of a sudden somebody throws a reverse card and you're back in that one again. It's very confusing. It's very painful. So I recommend anybody find someone who is qualified to guide you through what you're feeling because it's going to be a much better thing to do than trying to navigate it by yourself.
One of the decisions, like what have you done personally to tell, what kind of notes do you leave to yourself personally to tell yourself how to get over a day and still advocate for your wife Tina, how to get without her physically but spiritually?
Yeah. I've kept a gratitude journal for nearly 15 years now. And what I do 90+% of days over the past 15 years, when I first get to my desk in the morning, and this was even right after Tina passed, I write down the date, I write down the words good stuff, and I write 1, 2, 3. And I find 3 positive moments from the previous day. And that's how I start each morning. Because if I sit in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain because I lost Tina, that can blind you to the fact that there are good positive moments that are happening all around you and even inside you every single day. And they're very easy to miss when you're struggling. So I've kept that practice going. And of course, people have said, Steve, the day Tina died, what could you have possibly had to be grateful for? What good could have come out of that day? And I say the number one thing I'm grateful for is she still had a pulse when I found her in our hotel room. So I wrote that down in my gratitude journal. She still had a pulse. I got to hold her as she passed, and she got to hear my voice, hopefully. So giving yourself that gift to at least notice even the tiniest little flickers of something positive in your day can be much better than just staring at the dark clouds because there's a lot of pain. And just noticing moments you're grateful for doesn't mean the pain goes away, but you're at least acknowledging that there's something good in the world that day. It's if you're a rock climber or a mountain climber, it's those little things you got your fingers just gripped on so that you don't fall down any farther. And that's been one of the greatest habits that I've continued through all of this. So that's something I definitely encourage people to do.
Do you feel like there was anything that you could have did on your end, if you had to rewind time,
Mhm.
what would you tell Tina the day prior to her passing?
There's nothing I would do differently. We told each other every single day that we loved each other, and we had our own little routines and habits, which I miss so much. I would look at her every day and I'd say, love you. And she would just look at me and say, I know, very matter of factly. And I would start laughing. And then she would look at me again and say, thank you, which would make me laugh even more. Literally did that every single day. I gave her a foot rub every single night for the past 6 years. Left her little cards and notes, and I found out after she passed, she kept all of them. I found them in folders of her death. So I literally would not go back and change a single. Now, are there moments that maybe I was in a bad mood or anything like that? Of course, that's being human. But would I go back and change anything? Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing, because every moment that we got to be together was just a wonderful experience for me. We held hands everywhere we went. We were that couple that annoyed other people because we were just so happy. And I take a lot of comfort in the fact that I told her every single day that I loved her, and she made me laugh every day, and she made me feel loved as well.
Tell me, who was Tina?
I refer to Tina now as my beautiful blue-eyed angel wearing fabulous shoes. She was just the sweetest, kindest, most loving, most genuinely, naturally, stunningly beautiful person that I ever met in my life. And our whole story of how we even came together, what got me on Oprah's radio network on 4 call-in shows back around 2010. I mean, our story was just, it was an incredible love story. And the beautiful part about that is, just like the 4 goals that I had when I was 11 years old, I visualized our relationship for a couple of years and built vision boards to create it. So I knew the exact relationship that I wished to enjoy. And 10 days after I wrote in my journal, I am ready to fall in love, in early June of 2007, on June 16th of that year, she showed up in an email from 1,350 miles away after 21 years after the last time we had seen or spoken to each other. So we were meant to be. And I found out shortly after she had been doing the same thing, living in Florida at that time with her life, creating her ultimate relationship. And she reached out at the perfect time. And we enjoyed 17 and a half of the best years of my life.
Can you tell me, like, how did fate connect y'all? How did it really connect y'all? Tell me how circumstance, like, for instance, you said that you asked for the password prior to her passing, and now you said that you caught up with her in a certain way. So tell me, how did fate, remember that day fate connected y'all? She called you, right?
She sent me an email,
Okay.
which I almost deleted. I thought it was spam. And I've got a I've got a thundering herd of squirrels that resides in my head. Each one plays their own harmonica, and they're constant yelling, "Hey, listen to this." So I get distracted very easily. So it was just one of a bunch of emails I got on that day, June 16th, 2007. And I'm scrolling through them like junk. And something distracted me. And I hadn't deleted that one. And when I went back an hour or two later and looked at it, I clicked on it and go, oh, somebody named Tina. So I clicked and it said, hey, stranger, we haven't seen each other since we graduated high school, which was June of 1986. Said, I live in Florida now. Hey, I saw your name online. We should keep in touch. And what's your first thought when somebody from 21 years ago reaches out and says we should keep in touch? Well, if we wanted to keep in touch, we would have. But then I remember, I go, oh my gosh, that's Tina from high school. And we were really close friends. And we just lost touch after graduation. And I went to look her up online. She had no social media footprint. So there was no picture of her anywhere. So I answered back. She sent me an email with her phone number. And about 3 days later, I called her. The first words I heard out of her mouth in 21 years were, it's about time you call.
Already.
And I just started laughing. I thought, oh my gosh, she has not changed a bit. Well, we started emailing and texting and calling. And as we're having these very easy, bright, fun, silly conversations, I was remembering that I had a crush on her in high school, but I never had the guts to ask her out because I had zero confidence and zero self-esteem and horrible self-talk language. And I just was not a confident kid. So I never had the guts to ask her out.
So it was like miscommunication. You thought that you didn't want to ask her out because you were afraid of rejection a little bit.
Oh, a little bit, a lot.
We're all.
Oh yeah. I was that guy. I used to tell when I would be on stage, I would tell women, I said, anybody who's within a decade of my age, I want to thank you all for not dating me in the 80s or 90s because you taught me that looking pathetic is not an adorable quality. Thank you. Because I had no confidence back then at all. But we just started emailing and texting and calling each other. And a month later, it was right around July 21st of that year, Tina sent me a text. I was DJing a wedding at the time when she sent me this text, and she said, "Can I tell you something if you promise not to freak out?" And I texted back, "Sure." And she said, "Here's how I really felt about you back in high school. Here's how I felt when I saw your name online. Here's how I felt when you answered the email. Here's how I felt when I heard your voice. And here's how I feel right now." And she texted 143. And I had to do a quick Google search. Thank God there was Wi-Fi at the place I was DJing the wedding. 143 is text code for I love you. She told me first that she loved me, and I answered her right back, and I said, I love you too. And a month after that, on August 17th, she was flying from Florida back to New Hampshire because her grandmother was having surgery. And that was the first time in 21 years that I actually got to see her because she refused to send me a picture. And I saw her at the airport, and I was running late, so I was sprinting across the jetway just in time to catch my breath before she came off the plane. And I saw her, and I just fell head over heels in love with her all over again. And we knew right then. I still have emails from that summer saying that we're still going to be holding hands when we're 80 years old, and we're going to be together forever. And I wish forever had lasted longer, but we got to be in love for 17 and a half years.
Do you have any children or anything?
We do not. No, it was just the two of us.
Wow. Wow. What have you learned on your journey with Tina? What did you how did you grow?
Confidence was the big thing that happened over the past 17 and a half years together. She believed in me so much as a speaker, as a visualization strategist, helping other people. She was just the person who believed in me when I had low days, when I didn't believe in myself, when I might have been struggling in business. During the pandemic, I owned a DJ business and was also a speaker. Well, guess what? For a whole year, everything got taken away and disappeared. Now, during a very short window of time, I also had 3 deaths of people very close to me, the pandemic, and we had black mold in our attic for 2 years, and it was coming down through the vent in my office ceiling. I was inhaling toxic black mold for 2 years, and it impacted me mentally, physically, emotionally. I had brain fog for 2 years, and we couldn't figure it out. And through it all, as down as I got, she cheered me on every single day, and she taught me what it meant to believe in yourself and how amazing it is when somebody believes in you on the days that you don't. So she was my angel on earth for 17 and a half years, and she is still my angel today because I feel her presence here in our home every single day. She shows me in the wildest ways that she's still here with me.
Now we're going to get into the paranormal and sci-fi. So how does she show you that she's here?
Number one is the music that suddenly appears either on the XM Sirius app, on Alexa, and in my YouTube channel, and in the car. I get up in the morning at 5:05 Monday through Friday for my workout, and I'll turn on the XM Sirius app, and I'll say, "All right, baby, throw me some George," because George Michael was their favorite singer. And I'll turn it on and I'll scroll through the channels, and many days there is a George Michael song waiting on one of the channels to play.
I like that.
Does
Yeah.
that a lot. And cardinals, we don't have many red cardinals here. But the day after Christmas, which was 2 days after I flew home from England in 2024, and then right around my birthday of early 2025, On Tina's birthday, April 4th, 2025, each day there was a red cardinal in the backyard right outside our kitchen window looking at the house when I came downstairs and was looking out that window.
Wow.
And cardinals are messengers of a spirit, of a person who's no longer here. There have been so many. I've been thinking about her while I'm driving, and a cardinal will buzz right in front of my truck while I'm driving. That's happened 3 or 4 times.
You know, we're moving into the quantum, we're in the quantum world right now. So if you had anything you wanted to say, like if you wanted to keep this as your virtual journal or your visual journal for Tina, what would you say to Tina? You have the floor for 1 minute.
Yeah. Same thing I say to her every single day. I love you. I miss you. Thank you for the signs you showed me today. I'd like about 1 million more of those, please. And she just continues. We have had little hearts appear. I find hearts everywhere. My family and I were honoring her by having a family dinner about 6 months ago. And there was a glass on the table, and I lifted it up. There's a water spot shaped like a heart in front of the only empty seat at the table, which is where she would have been sitting. So, baby, please continue to give me those signs. And I always look up, and I do the same thing. I look up and say, thank you, baby. And I would like about 1 million more of those, please.
Where do you see yourself going in the future?
Honoring Tina, continuing to, in the material I share on social media, in the book that I'm writing, in the acts of kindness that my family and I commit through our 501c3. It's called Beach Bum Philanthropy. We've created a giving mission with Tina's name on it. It's called Tina's Buckets of Love. And it helps single parents who are moving out of shelters into their own place with their family with all the kitchen utensils, household items that they need. That was all born of something that Tina loved to do. So I'm going to continue to honor her. I will be stepping out on stages at grief conferences and grief events to share my story, where there are people there that explain the nuts and bolts of grief and a grief journey. I will be there with the storytelling of just some very important things about the people who they are going through a journey, and to always stay connected with the people that they loved and the people they lost, because they're still here with us. So to honor them as best you can, and I believe it will bring people peace and joy and a lot easier time dealing with their grief. So as with every other platform I'm part of, what qualifies me to teach what I teach and speak on what I speak is actually shared on a little chalkboard I have here in my recording studio. And it says on it very simply, this guy lived it. And I have an arrow pointing to my face. And anytime somebody asks what qualifies me, I take a selfie with that and say, look, this guy lived it. So I'm going to continue to share it to help other people as best I can.
What else is on your list of things to do?
This year, it's a relaunch of a program I created about a decade ago called Vision Board Mastery. It's being rebranded and relaunched this year, hopefully first quarter, as Ultimate Life Vision. And I want to help people to understand where their life is right now, not just in material things, but in 8 areas of their lives, and then to start to envision the best version of their life, even just 1 year from now, and stop being blinded by the bling of all these people on social media that put up their pictures of the Lamborghini, the yacht, the mansion, the private jet, the helicopter, the big honking gold watch, and the bank vault full of gold bars and piles of cash as what a successful, happy life is all about. I want people to understand what would make them truly happy and how to create the best version of themselves. And you can't do it if you can't see it. So I help people define what that is. And that's a huge part of my mission for this year, because I have had to readjust my vision. My new vision board is actually just about done. I've got to get it printed out. The center of it, which I believe is the most important part of anyone's life, should be in the center of their board. It's all about honoring Tina and how that impacts every area of my life. So that's what I want to help people do.
Do you have like a podcast? Are you thinking about a podcast so you can honor Tina? How about a TEDx speaking or a Marquise Who's Who thing? What are your goals with that?
Yeah, actually, a TEDx stage is on the radar, and I've got somebody I'm working with here in New Hampshire that has access, and she actually coaches speakers and helps them to get on stages. And as soon as I told her the story of Tina and I was actually pitching something different, and then she said, "What else is going on in your life?" And I explained the story of Tina, and she went, "Oh my gosh, that needs to be your first one. You can do others after." But she said, "You can really help a lot of people." As far as my podcast, I do have one. It's called the Motivational Firewood Podcast. And I do talk about Tina quite a bit on that podcast. And I'll be relaunching that again soon. Took a bit of a break last year dealing with the grief, but that's also being relaunched this year, as well as the book of all of our little stories and lessons from all of our time together that I'm currently writing in a beautiful journal that Tina guided me to. You talk about the metaphysical world and the paranormal and law of attraction. I was on the wrong road heading somewhere and didn't realize it until I stopped, bought this journal that Tina guided me to on a shelf, got back out to my truck and went, huh, I'm on the wrong road. I never, that in itself is already a stage story of how I found the leather bound journal, handmade in Italy, where Tina and I had been 6 months before she died. We went on a Mediterranean cruise with an owl on the cover, which was her favorite sound from the woods in our backyard. And she
Wow.
put me on a wrong road. And I just happened to pull over in this one shopping plaza because I needed to find a restroom. And there was a Barnes and Noble there. And I found that journal.
Wow. That is so special.
Yeah,
That is so special. Is there anything else you would like to share for like 1 minute?
sure. A lesson that I learned from observing one of my grandfathers, and this is actually a key that has led to the most amazing breakthroughs and wins in my life. Wherever you are, look around for an opportunity to leave a situation, even in a small way, better than you find it, because it increases your awareness of the people around you, the energy around you, the opportunities around you. You could say or do something today that's going to impact the rest of your life. So do your best to create positive ripples. Leave a trail of plus signs behind you all day long, whether it's a simple act of kindness, it's holding a door, compliment somebody, tell someone you hope they have an amazing day. Say please and thank you. Be a positive ripple today, because you never know where the ripples go. I mean, look, early June of 07, I said, I am ready to fall in love. I've done enough work on myself. 10 days later, from 1,350 miles away, an email changed my life forever. So you never know where the ripples go. Leave at least one situation today better than you find it.
Well said. And how can the people reach you?
Nice and easy on social media. I spend probably a little too much time on Facebook and LinkedIn, but that's where you can find me under my name, Steve Gamlin, Gamlin. And I've got a brand new website coming soon, but you can still reach the original site at stevegamlinspeaker.com.
Stay on the line, Steve. Thank you
Sure.
guys for joining my show today. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys another time. Bye.